Longest Night. Night Patrol, Chapter 32, by Foxgear. Emerald ran as fast as she could up to the castle stairs. She had very little time. She needs to get to Stawind's room, where the only object powerful enough to help her was located. She needs to get to the green alicorn amulet. It was her only chance against Princess Luna. No, Nightmare Moon. The wounds the princess inflicted on her ache, as did her heart. She never imagined the princess would attack her like that, that she would take such glee in the damage she inflicted. There was no way her princess would be so cruel to her friends. "Emerald, where's the fire?" "The battle is over," the pony said as she rushed past. "It's not over yet," she hollers back. Galloping around the corner, she cut her way through Stawind's door, surprising the inventor. "Emerald, you're alive!" "Why are you ransacking my room?" He watched the dragon pony sniff around, digging at the wall for something, wondering what it was she was looking for. "Something I can help you find?" Emerald growls as she dug at the stone wall. She could smell the scent of the gem's power seeping through the walls. She was almost there. The sound of metal fills the room as she dug out the safe containing the amulet. "What do you think you're doing?" Stawind exclaimed, grabbing the safe with his magic and pulling it away from Emerald. "Do you have any idea what it is you're scratching at?" Emerald nods. "I do, and you need to give me the amulet right now. There's no time to explain." "No, I will not," Stawind yells. "I know what you're planning to do. You're planning on eating the darn thing, aren't you? Sixes maybe have survived doing something that's stupid, but Overheat didn't. The chances of you surviving the influx of the amulet's power are at a 50% at best, given the current data. What possible reason do you have for doing this? Emerald, please talk to me." Outside, screams could be heard, followed by that laughter, that horrible laughter. She was here. Nightmare Moon was here. "I'm sorry," she whispers. In a flash, Emerald cut the safe into, splitting its contents onto the floor, quickly grabbing the amulet, holding it in her claw. She looks mournfully at Stawind. "Don't do it," he begged of her, reluctantly. She raises the gem to her mouth and bit into it. The power that flowed through her was amazing. She could feel the magic entering her body, changing her, making her stronger. Gems grew from her body, forming a protective layer of crystal armor around her body as sharp crystal wings grew from her sides. This is it, the power of Alicorn. "I have to save her no matter the cost," Emerald said, taking flight. She flew out the window, flying over the courtyard. Instantly, she spotted Princess Luna, or rather Nightmare Moon, laughing over a fallen Celestia. "The age of the night begins!" the madmare shouted. All the ponies surrounding her recoiled, still in shock by their princess's actions. Stealing her will, Emerald nosedives towards Nightmare Moon, horn glowing with bright green magic. A loud battle cry escapes her lips as she fires a blast of green as at the Dark Princess. The shot cut through the air, aimed right for Luna's heart, but a mass of black shadows shot up from the ground, blocking the attack. I see you haven't learned your lesson from the last time. I shall give you another, Nightmare Moon said mockingly, as she took to the sky. She circled around Emerald Cutter, inspecting the Edu Alicorn with mild interest. You have the raw power. You'd definitely be a challenge if I was still merely Luna. But as I am now, thou art merely a plaything, no better than thy sister that lay upon the ground below. Emerald continued to hover in midair as Nightmare Moon went into her rant. Her terminology was slowly mixing with the old dialect Luna used to use, whether that meant Princess Luna was fighting for control inside the Dark Alicorn, or it was simply a result of the two minds melting together, was impossible to tell. She really hoped it was the former, because she was not feeling these wings at all. Darn things seem to have a mind of their own. Having trouble flying? Shall I give you some lessons before our wrestle and tumble? Shall we say you are looking rather ravishing, too, in your new form? Perhaps we shall take thee to bed after our contest. The Wheeze were back now, and Nightmare Moon was being flirty? Definitely not a normal Luna trait, but there was something else. Almost like there was a friendly tone in her voice, as if they weren't about to have a battle to the death. Tell me, Emerald pleaded with all her heart, do you still consider me your friend? Nightmare Moon seemed perturbed by the question, as if uncertain how she would answer it. Her brow frowned as she searched for the answer, gaining a wide, soft smile. Yes, despite your trespasses, I still hold you close to my heart, along with all of my subjects of the night. Everything I do is for you. She never called us subjects, Emerald muttered quickly. She raised her head, her eyes filled with determination, magic flaring around her as she readied herself for an attack. You are not the princess we love and admire. We were her friends and allies, never her subjects, and I will bring her back, no matter the cost. Nightmare Moon sneers. Just try it. That weakling is never coming back. She is not weak! Emerald lashes out with her claws, Nightmare gracefully dancing away with her wings while Emerald flounders in the air, her wings seemingly working against her. Growling, she straightens out and turns to face the black alicorn again, Nightmare snickering at her. You would make quite the jester, my dear. Here, let me show you how it's done. A black sphere appeared at the tip of her horn. Emerald countered by throwing a blade of magic. However, Nightmare disappears and reappears behind the attack and fires. The black beam hit Emerald dead center, and she was sent spiraling into the castle wall. Groaning, Emerald shook the rubble off her back and took off running, as several blasts of black magic shot through the castle walls. With each blast, Nightmare let out a gleeful laugh. "This is like shooting mice. Oh, how much fun this is, dear Emerald." "Could some pony please freaking help me?" Emerald screams, while at the same time pushing any loitering ponies out of the way. Luna was evil now. Get over the shock already. Of course, to be fair, it took her the better part of a month at sea to wrap her mind around the idea, let alone come up with this plan, then have the courage to enact it. Still, she probably should have at least told Kira ahead of time. She would be really useful right now. Speaking of which, Kira, if it wouldn't be too much trouble, could you at least give me a weak point to aim for? She pleaded, hoping the white Renin would come to her senses. Hearing her friend's plea, Kira snaps awake and activates her ability, making the world turn gray and red. She saw every pony's internal organs, aches, pains, and wounds, all highlights in red. Places that could be exploited for a killing blow. She looks up towards what she thought was Princess Luna and saw only gray. She had no weakness or instant kill spot, or she would have to make one, something lethal enough to slow down the princess, but not kill her outright. She looks to Sixes and the others tending to Princess Celestia. She's never seen them so uncertain before. Drawing her sword, she said this to them: "Take her to Stawind and Blue Cross, and then when you find the will to fight, come help us." Leaving them behind, Kira took flight and snuck up behind the evil princess and drew back her watashi, breathing lightning into the blade. She made it crackle with electricity, raising it high to attack. "Over here!" she shouts, throwing the blade. The weapon aches in the air, and Nightmare Moon turned to intercept, a barrier quickly forming. "Now!" From the castle, a green beam shot out from one of the windows, nicking the black alicorn's wing. Nightmare Moon growled as she slowly descending, glaring angrily at Kira with hate-filled eyes. "I'll come back for you next," she said, and then she vanished. Kira looked around frantically, searching for Nightmare Moon, but she was nowhere to be found. Then, within the castle, a bright blast of magic blew a huge hole in the roof, followed by a scream. "Emerald!" screamed Kira, flying to the castle, hoping her friend was alright. Emerald laid on her side, panting hard, a huge hole in her side. Nightmare had come out of nowhere and got her by surprise. Now the black alicorn stood over her, her massive hoof on her wound pushing down, her groans in pain. Coughing up blood, she tries to move her limbs, but they wouldn't respond to her. Even her stupid wings seemed to have finally stopped twitching. Above her, Nightmare Moon held Luna's star blade, aloft in her magic, a sick grin on her face as she twirls the blade in the air. What to do, what to do. There are so many things I could do. I could heal you and start all over again. But that would be boring, as I already know what the end result would be. Oh, we could continue to torment you as we are, but that doesn't seem very exciting either. You will just stand here and watch the life drain out of you, or walk away and leave you to die alone. What do you think? Why don't you go buck yourself? Emerald spat, spitting blood on the Dark Alicorn's boot. She got a kick in the face for her trouble. Cheeky little thing, aren't you? Well, I've decided I'm going to finish you myself. Goodbye, my dear friend. Nightmare raised her hoof for the kill blow, but a whistling sound caught her attention, and she quickly jumps away as a short sword charged with lightning whistling past. Get away from her! Kira screams, banishing her sword as she stood protectively over Emerald. Nightmare Moon slowly fades away as the rest of the Knight Commanders enter the room. I shall give you your final moments to your friends. Enjoy them. For several seconds, they wait, making sure it wasn't a trick. A full minute passes, the Dark Alicorn truly seeming to have left. The sound of metal clinging against stone echoed as Kara lay down beside Emerald Cutter, embracing her friend tightly. Emmy! Oh, Emmy! Cries Kara, openly shedding tears for her friend. I'm sorry I wasn't there. I should have been. Please don't leave me. Please don't leave me alone. A smile appears on Emerald's lips as she said in a soft voice, You're not alone. Overheat and I will always be with you, in your heart, and so will every pony else. We may be monsters, but we are monsters with friends, a family, and right now, we have a family member in need of help. She's still in there. Luna is still in that thing somewhere, trying to get out. You got to save her. Emmy, Kira shook her body, but the green pony did not even twitch. She pulls Emerald closer, nuzzling the mare's name. Her friend, her comrade, her sister. The room fills with her wails, the other patrollers slowly stepping back from the last member of the monster squad as she mourned. Applejack looked at Sixes. What do we do? The Black Renin looks to Kira and the slain Emerald, killed by their own princess, the mare he loved, the mare they all loved. His jaw tightens, his gums aching with suppressed pain and anger. He held his eyes shut, feeling the telltale drops of tears wanting to be shed, but he held them back and looked at the ponies staring at him, looking for guidance, looking for somewhere to aim the same pain and anger he felt. Yet the reluctance to use it. Finally, he said, Our princess lived by a set of rules and principles. Principles that we also embraced and supported. To betray those principles, or to betray her and everything we worked for these past years. We all know what Luna would do if she was in her right frame of mind. And now, what she would tell us to do. What do you mean? Crusader asked, hesitantly, not wanting to speak, but they all knew. Sixes nods. We take her down. Not just as our duty as night patrollers, but as her friends. Tonight, we hunt Princess Luna. For Equestria! For Equestria! They all shouted back, taking off in stampede with sixes at the head of the herd. The thundering of their hooves echoed down the halls of the castle, letting all know they were coming. This was their duty, and even with heavy hearts, they would do what needs to be done to save their princess, even if it meant doing the unspeakable. She heard the hooves rush past. She knew, Celestia knew, they would be hunting for her sister, and that she had to help. Rolling on her side, Celestia brushed away Blue Blood's helping hoof, forcing magic into her limbs. She stood on her own hooves once again. The wounds of her body burned with a golden light, instantly closing them, but the pain was still there. A temporary fix, one that would leave her even worse off than before. But she didn't have time to be lying around. I need to go. Celestia took a step forward. The pain was almost unbearable now. The taste of iron filled her mouth as she held her lips tight to keep any blood from dripping from her mouth. Her injuries were even worse than she thought, but she would not let them know, or they would never let her go. Not in that condition, you're not, Stawind said firmly, standing in her path. What do you think you're gonna do anyway? You're in no condition to fight, and it seems to me Luna is in no mood to talk. Celestia swallows the blood, taking a deep breath of air. It hurts to breathe, but kept her eyes steeled on Stawind and said, there's something only I can do. Something that could possibly save Luna. If you wish to help her, then help me get to the room above our thrones. Stawind looked skeptically at her. And just what is there? There's no use keeping it a secret. Taking a breath, Celestia told him, the elements of Harmony, powerful relics left behind by the Alicorn tribe. We use them to defeat Discord. I intend to use them on Luna. Discord? The statue in the garden at Canterlot? You intend to turn her to stone? Celestia shook her head. No. The elements decided that. There's no telling what they would do to her. But I am sure they won't kill her, as she bears the elements of loyalty, generosity, and honesty. My hope is that they will rid her of the evil that consumes her now. These elements. Can you use them yourself without Luna, I mean? Celestia couldn't keep the uncertainty out of her voice. There were no records of any pony being able to harness the power of the elements by themselves. I truly don't know, but I must try. Please take me to them. Reluctantly, Stawind nods. Fine, let's go. He lent his magic to Celestia, casting a spell that numbed the pain. There was a lot of pain coursing through her body. Whatever spell she used to temporarily heal herself was definitely in the last resort category and would cost her dearly once it wore off. Stawind quickly pulls the princess along with his magic in order to lengthen the effect of her spell. Even the slightest bit of movement on Celestia's part used up great amounts of magic. Her body was burning it up like a furnace. The thing that puzzles him was where she was getting the magic to burn. His eyes narrows at the wisp of gold stream rising off her body, and he realized what she was fueling her body with. Pure energy. She was burning up her own life force to power the spell. "You shouldn't have done that," he said simply as they arrived at the throne room. Celestia broke free from his magic and stepped between the thrones with her horn ignited. The two symbols of the sisters upon the chairs glows and the room rumbles as they lower behind the chairs, opening a passageway on the wall behind them. "I know, but she's my sister," was all she said, walking into the room, the door shutting behind her. The hallway led into a bright marble room. Spheres of light illuminated the room, pointing down on a strange machine that held 6 rubies. At the center of the machine rested a violet gem in the shape of a star, the element of magic. Slowly she lifts the element of magic off its pedestal, letting the gemstone float around her as she calls the other elements to her. "Magic, laughter, kindness, my old friends. I need your help once again." The gems glow with warmth, happy to be in her presence again, as she too was happy to feel their strength and assurance flow through her. Now comes the hard part, convincing Luna's elements to lend her their strength. Generosity, loyalty, and honesty, I beseech you, please come to my aid. The blue gem of generosity and the red gem of loyalty floats towards her and circles her, passing their judgment. A dull light shone from within them, and they joined the other 3 in circling around her. The last element, the yellow gem of honesty, did not move. "Element of honesty, please lend me your strength," she pleaded. The gem floated there, making no move to come closer. In fact, it moved away from Celestia, much to her shock. The gem glows, forming a yellow silhouette of an alicorn. The spirit of honesty appeared before Celestia. The spirit had no mouth or face, but somehow she knew it was angry. "I shall not lend you my powers to those who are not honest from the bottom of their heart to the darkest part of their souls, for I cannot stand lies and false truths. Speak the darkness hidden in thy heart, and we shall reconsider. For even if it is the evilest thoughts, there must be spoken honestly. The hidden darkness evil thoughts. What is the element talking about?" Celestia wondered. "I wish only to have my sister. That is the honest truth," Celestia assents. The element seemed to stare into her soul, judging her. "That is the truth," the element said, making Celestia sigh in relief. "But that is not the truth of your heart." Celestia stiffens, rage filling her as her patience weighed thin. "This is the truth. I carry no lies within me. Now please help me." The spirit seemed to gain a smug look as it leans in close. Then you admit you would like to rule without Luna at least some of the time? The words sent a shock to Celestia's system as it reels away from the spirit. That's not true. I would never think that. Something clung against the floor. Celestia stares down in shock to see the element of loyalty on the ground. She watched, flabbergasted, as the gem flew away and created a red silhouette next to honesty. Those you are not loyal to their friends or their principles shall not have my might, Loyalty said in a booming voice. Celestia, thou have proven thyself a liar, and thus cannot hold my element. For those who lie cannot be trusted, and thus have no loyalty to give or receive. Her control on the other elements was loosening. She needs to prove herself. She needed to tell the truth. The horrible truth. Celestia bows her head. Yes, there are times I wished I ruled alone, like I did when Luna set herself into exile. It was nice not having to fight with her on policy, to argue over this or that, and spend days shouting at each other over what was best for every pony. I love her, but I find some of her ideas less than appropriate and wish they would have stayed in her head. However, while I do think that sometimes I would rather have her with me than that too. Silence fills the room as she waited for Honesty's judgment. That is truth, the spirit concedes. Much like you, Luna also shares these thoughts and desires. However, she knows they are thoughts of anger and jealousy, and thus knows not to put much heart in them. But she also does not deny having them. She is honest with herself as you are now. I will grant you my power with the others, but no price will be paid. I will pay any price. We shall see. The spirit said, floating over her. We shall see. The moon was beautiful. No doubt ponies were wondering what's happened to the sun. She giggles wonderfully if any of them notice that the day has already passed and is now tomorrow. Probably not. Still, she found some amusement in it. Once we take Sister's magic, we can fully control both sun and the moon. The common ponies will soon forget her once they see how wonderful our rule will be. Sure, some be opposing us at first, but they can be dealt with. If you believe that, Nightmare, then I foresee a short reign, Luna said in the mist of her mind. Luna stood battered and bruised from her attempts to control her physical body from her doppelganger, attempts that had resulted in failure most of the time. Only briefly has she been able to gain control, but it was difficult to speak in the physical world and fight while in the mental world. It was an experience she never had to deal with before. Even with her dream walking, she never had to try and be in two worlds at once. Her dark counterpart seems to have been aware of this weakness and has trained to counter it, as she was easily shown to be able to fight in 2 planes of existence. With the help of our loyal subjects, any rebellious riffraff will be dealt with as our mighty warriors of the night crush them under hoof. Nightmare smiled with glee, waiting for Luna's retort, her pleas and cries, but much to her surprise, the Princess of the Night was giggling. "What is so funny?" Luna wipes tears from her eyes. "You are a bigger fool than I thought. You hear them, don't you? Those thundering hooves? My night patrollers have only one mission, and that is to hunt and kill monsters and any pony that threatens Equestria. That includes us. They know I would never stand to let a creature such as you use my body for your evil. As they fight you out there, I will fight you here, and I will only need to give them a single moment to sink their fangs into our throat and end this." From the physical world, a voice shouts out, "There she is! Get her!" Hot lava flew at her Nightmare Moon's face. Much to her surprise, she truly hadn't expected them to attack, even with Luna warning her they would. It was still a shock that they would attack their princess so readily. Throwing up a shield to block the lava, Nightmare ponders what course of action to take. Well, personally, she did not care for ponies attacking her. Luna did, and since her and Luna were now one, she was hesitant to kill them outright. Even in her battle with Emerald Cutter, she had not intentionally wanted to harm the green pony. If she was to rule, she would need their strength and loyalty. To be the ponies that would let her get a good night's rest without worrying about assassins and the like. Perhaps there was something to persuade them. As soon as they stopped attacking her, using her shield to blast the cooling lava away, Nightmare fires a few light magic beams to scatter her attackers. She counts 6. 6's Topaz, Fury, Applejack, Crusader, and Kira. Her top officers, the Night Hunters. They might be a challenge if she takes it easy on them for too long. From her left, Topaz and Crusader fire plasma and solar beams. She summons her Shadow Shroud. The black mass of darkness rose from the ground and devoured the attacks like a black hole and spat them out. The rebounded attacks missing their owners by wide margins. "You're going to get us killed. You don't want to hurt them either," Luna reports from within the mental realm. Nightmare quickly pushes her aside to regain control of her body and flew into the air as Fury and 6's tried to tackle her, both spewing fire in every direction. A cry-off, "Special delivery!" caught Nightmare's attention as Nightingale came flying in from the ceiling, carrying Applejack. The metal-winged mare twirls and lunges the earth mare right at her. Applejack's hoof, stretched out, glowing brightly with magic. Don't forget who taught you that, Nightmare cries out, using the same technique. Their hoofs collide, magic exploding everywhere as they fought for dominance. Applejack's magic has grown strong, much stronger than when they first met, but she was still outclassed. Her greaves, Celestia's old ones, began to crack, and then shatter. Broken pieces of metal pelted the Earth Mare's face as Nightmare's hoof connects with hers. The results were traumatic. Applejack was sent flying, crashing hard into the wall. With the dust settled, she laid in the rubble, breathing harshly, and her leg twisted, a bone sticking out. Applejack! The others ran to her while Nightmare watches from above, her body yearning to go to her friend's aid, but she knew that was foolish. Inside the mental realm, she forces Luna away, once again regaining full control. Words fail her. She wants to say something, to boast and laugh at their efforts to defeat her, but she cannot work up the will to taunt them. Nightingale carries Applejack away, leaving the 5 night hunters to face her, and they looked more determined than before. 60 steps forward from the group, his mane brightening to a gold hue as he puffs up his chest. He was going to use his gold lava. Don't think that will work on me, she monotoned as the black Renin spat his gold lava at her. The mass of molten metal flew at her, twisting and turning in the air in a way she had never seen before. The wave of lava broke apart, forming into golden chains that fell over her like a net, their sheer weight dragging her down to the ground in a tangled of gold mess. Nightmare Moon struggles against the chains, the hot metal searing her coat as she struggled. Gold wasn't as strong a metal in any case of the word. A single strong swing of an axe could split the nugget clean in two. However, while gold was not good for making swords or armor for physical attacks, it was very useful for creating magical charms and items. Even in raw form, it could be used to absorb magical attacks. You clever little pony. When did you conjure up this little trick? Sixes and the others surround her, each charging up an attack in case she makes a wrong move, one she would hold back from making at this moment. A while ago. Release your hold on Princess Moon's body, now! Nightmare chuckles. You look so cute when you're angry. Both I and Luna think so. But I digress. I can no more give up this body than she can. Perhaps at first we could have separated. But that is why, my dear Sixes, we stay away from an entire month. Not only to learn and master our power, but to ensure the bond that seals our spirit and flesh holds and binds properly. I'm afraid the point of there being a Princess Luna or a Nightmare Moon is as irrelevant as asking if you can separate two sides of the same coin. I'm her and she is me. Two souls in one body, forever intertwined. Six's eyes narrows. We'll see about that. Oh, Nightmare Moon giggles. I doubt that. With her earth pony strength, she rips the chain away and quickly threw up her shadow shroud, absorbing any and all attacks they threw at her. She could hear their roars of frustration as the shadow devours their attacks, allowing it to grow and grow till finally the shroud reached its limit. Here, you can have these back! The shroud bent and bulks, throwing back the attacks, while at the same time mixing them together into a deadly combination. Plasma fire cut through the stone. Electrified lava shocked and burnt the solar beams of fire, blew them all away. A chorus of groans rose like a symphony to her ears as she looks through the shroud. Every pony was impacted into the wall, huddled and hurting, all except one. Crusader, my darling bastard of a nephew. I had a feeling you wouldn't go down as easy. Are you ready to get that alicorn blood boiling? Crusader pants as he walks past his downed comrades, his antlers glowing brightly with magic as tiny miniature suns forming on the tips of each point. I don't want to fight you, Ant. Nightmare grins. No, you don't. But I want you to anyway. Defend yourself! Summoning up her star blades, Nightmare Moon flung her weapons at the white Renin, who reared back, firing the many suns between his horns. Covering her blades in darkness, Nightmare uses her blades to redirect the flight path of the suns, sending them flying in every direction. Crusader pulls back on his spell to prevent the suns from hitting his friends, but left himself open for attack. Nightmare star blades impaling themselves into his shoulders. He staggers back as hot blood rushes down the front of his body. Looking up, he saw Nightmare Moon standing gleefully over him, slowly removing the blades from his flesh. I don't know what I find more satisfying, watching you die or seeing you look on my sister's face as I kill you. Her precious son, another thing she just loves to lord over me. You are not in the right mind, Aunt. Mother loves you very much, Crusader said as she raises her blade for the killing strike. She felt no need to reply to the soon-to-be dead pony. She would just be glad to be rid of the annoyance once and for all. No! Luna shouts from within the mental realm as she tackles Nightmare Moon and knocks control away from her. I may not know how to conduct myself in front of him, but I do not wish Crusader's death. He may not have been born from thy sister's own womb, but he is still my son, and important to her, and thus important to me. You fool, do you not realize what could happen if we're left in this state? I don't care, not as long as some pony stops this madness. A voice rang out from the other world. Luna! Both paused in their struggles, recognizing the voice. Celestia! So she finally arrived. Nightmare grins as she tosses Luna off and forming a cage around her. Time to retake this stage. Feel free to enjoy Sister's screams. It's once in a lifetime event after all. No, come back here! Celestia! Celestia! Run away! Luna cries, banging against the bars. Nightmare Moon shook herself as she regained control of her body. Crusader was still huddled beneath her, but she felt resistance as she tried to move her blades. The same Celestia's axes were in the way. Nightmare looks over to the Sun Princess, dressed in full battle armor, the golden plates looking heavy on Celestia's frame, as she panted harshly, struggling to support the armor's weight. Some pony is out of shape, it seems. You really should have taken those offers to train with me more often. Celestia's breathing stabilized as gold stem rose off her coat, renewing her strength. She had not counted on her spell fluctuating like this. Maybe she had forgotten her armor. It was taking up more energy to keep the enchantment on it active than it probably was worth. Even keeping her axis aloof was proving difficult, and Luna has yet to use her real strength. Perhaps, but I still have some tricks left. Celestia pushes with her axes and moves so she was in front of Crusader. A shadow passes behind her, signaling Nightingale's successful rescues. All over, other patrollers were gathering up the injured and taking them away. Good. She was going to need the space. Seems even Luna, no, Nightmare Moon, was waiting for the bystanders to leave. Are you ready to finish this, sister? Nightmare smiles devilishly. Celestia gulps, the weight of the elements heavy both in her and in mind and body. There was no telling what the ancient treasures would do to her sister. Trust us, they whispered in her mind as she reaches for them with her magic. But she let them slip back to the bottom of her saddlebag and stares her sister down, banishing her axes. Last chance, Luna. Stop this madness before it's too late. The black alicorn scuffed. It's already too late. A long time ago. The two sisters readied their weapons and charged at one another, meeting in an epic clash at the center of the room. Their weapons met and locked together with the force of the collision, creating shock waves that shook the entire castle. There was no holding back anymore. Die! Nightmare screams, jabbing with her horn, the tip scraping across Celestia's breastplate. Runes lit up on the golden suit of armor, absorbing the magic in the attack, but they soon flicker and die as the dark magic corrodes the metal, making it crack and blacken. This is why you're outdated, thinking that relic of the past would protect you? Celestia broke away, biting a few solar blasts to keep Nightmare At bay, as she struggles to remove her armor, the blackness threatens to devour the entire suit. She fears what they may do to her if it connects her skin. Nothing good, she was certain. Armed with only her axes, helm, and boots, Celestia charges ahead, her speed much greater without the burden of her armor. Nightmare shifts into a cloud of smoke and gave chase, following her up to the hole in the roof. They flew outside, continuing the clash in midair, their horns crossing, creating a shower of magical sparks that lit up the entire night sky. The sisters broke away to catch their breath. "You're breathing quite hard, Celestia. Old age catching up?" Nightmare Moon said mockingly, as she flares her magic, creating an aura of pure blackness around her that seemed to engulf everything around her. Celestia retorted back, "Shut up and fight!" "With pleasure." Nightmare Moon disappears before Celestia's eyes, the white alicorn frantically looking for her opponent. Buck to the face coming from her blind side. Celestia's wings flutter, and she was left wide open, taking 3 horn jabs in her barrel. The magic keeping her axes aloft faded, and they fell to the ground, as did she, landing back inside the castle with her axes in an X over her like a grave marker. Weakly, Celestia paws at the ground, trying to get up, while Nightmare Moon's cackling echoed up above. Celestia ceased her struggles and used what magic she could gather to pull the elements from her saddlebag. "You should have used our power from the beginning," the element scolded. "You should have trusted us." Celestia bows her head. "I know, but I do not wish to harm my little sister. It is your duty to defend Equestria in the place of your lost ancestors. That duty comes before all else," the elements further rebuked. That struck a chord with her. Their words, despite being true, filled Celestia with unbridled rage. Gritting her teeth, she rose up. Glaring at the elements, she said, "I also have a duty to protect my sister, something that I place over everything else, even my duty as a ruler. A position forced upon us by a whiny, pig-headed ponies that couldn't even be trusted to rule themselves, so they turned to us to rule them. When I had accepted, despite my sister's urging not to, I had thought it would only be till the kingdom stabilized and we could trot off and return to our old lives. But no, there was corruption at every turn, ponies crying out for this or that, and like a fool, I thought I could fix all their little problems. And before I knew it, 50 years have gone by, and I'm still no closer to solving them. They just keep asking for more. Well, you know what? Ponies can solve their own problems. They don't need me and my sister to do it for them. We deserve to live our own lives, our own fates." Celestia panted heavy, waiting for the element's response. Unfortunately, the answer was one she did not like. "Your fates have been decided," they said as they gathered around her, spinning around her like the planets orbiting the sun. Their magic filled her and lifted her off the ground, the cosmic force filling her entire being as she rose back into the sky to meet her sister for one last attack. The elements! No! My power is beyond them! Nightmare Moon shouts as the possessed Celestia fires a multicolored beam at her, which she swiftly dodges. You'll have to do better than that, she mocks, easily gliding away from another blast. Celestia may be wielding the elements, but it was obvious she was not in harmony with them. For any pony to use the full power of the elements by themselves was nearly impossible, as they would need to keep all 5 virtues in their heart at all times. Something Nightmare could feel through her faint connection to the elements that Celestia was struggling with. Celestia rears back and fires another blast. Feeling cocky, Nightmare fires back with one of her own. The two clashed halfway, and much to her delight, she was winning. The darkness was overshadowing the light, eating it away and absorbing its strength. She could feel the element's power leaving Celestia and flowing in her. Yes, I will be unstoppable. I don't think so. Nightmare Moon flinched at the sound of Luna's voice and the rustling of chains. Inside the mental realm, she felt something wrap around her leg and tug, pulling her from control and pinning her down. What are you doing? Do you realize what will happen? Luna smiled grimly and said, yes. With no pony in control, Nightmare's attack shorts out and was quickly overpowered by the multicolored beam that engulfed her entirely. The elements fell away. The gems, now giant stone spheres, fell to the ground, leaving Celestia feeling dazed, but also completely healed. She shook the fog from her mind and looked around, spotting the multicolored sphere heading towards the moon. She wondered what it was. The sphere hit the moon with a bright flash, and the image of a black unicorn face appeared on the surface of the white rock. On the longest day of the 1000th year, the stars will aid in her escape, and she will bring nighttime eternal, lest 6 heroes take arms against her. Celestia blinks at the voices in her head. She knew those voices. They were the voices of the elements. Quickly she flew down to where the stones had fallen and began screaming at them. What have you done? What have you done to my sister? She demands as hot tears fell from her eyes. Thou had not the strength fully purify her. Thus we sealed her within the moon, where she will do battle with the darkness inside of her for the next 1000 years. In order to do this, we pulled her power from her and gifted it to you. You, Celestia, now possess the power of both night and day. Be warned, this power is only borrowed and will be taken back upon her release. Celestia fiercely wipes her tears, but they wouldn't stop. 1000 years without Luna? Why? Why did this happen? You wanted to rule alone, and thus you shall. She wanted to protect her loved ones. Thus her sacrifice shall also be her punishment by falling to darkness. Thus as her loneliness shall be yours. Thus harmony will be restored, eventually. Her teeth ground together As Celestia lifts the stones off the floor with her magic, she could feel the presence of Luna's magic mixed with hers and the power it brought. Power she was going to use right now. Give me back my sister right now, or I swear to whatever gods that remain, I will crush you into dust. Do you hear me? The elements didn't respond. She lifts them up, prepared to smash the cursed things to dust, just like she promised. But the sound of shuffling dirt stops her at the last second. She looks up, meeting the dazed and shocked expressions of every night patroller as they surrounded her. Disbelief etched in their faces. From the pack, Sixes stumbles forwards, his eyes not on her, but on the moon. He walks with his gaze pointing upward. Still, he came to a stop in front of her. When he finally looked down, tears were falling from his eyes like a river. One word escaped his lips. One word was on every pony's mind. The one word that she didn't have an answer for. Why? The word was like a dagger to her heart as she felt their stares turn from the moon, where their beloved princess lay sealed to her, the princess that put her there. Maybe not by choice, but it didn't change the fact she did it, and they all looked ready to kill her for it. And right now she probably wouldn't put up a fight if they tried to. Because I had to, she answers, knowing they wanted one. Celestia closes her eyes and waits for their judgment. The sound of hooves moving echoed. After they stopped, she finally opened her eyes. Almost every pony was gone, save for 6. They were Nightingale, Fierce Fury, Kira, Crusader, Sixes, and Applejack. Together, they all looked at her with a look in their eye that she could not describe. But it was a look that fills her with hope as Applejack steps away from the group, seemingly taking the lead. How do we get her back?